You ever have those moments, you sit down to study, you're all ready to go, and then you just hit a wall. Your brain feels foggy, it feels like you're pushing against something. Well, that feeling is completely universal, but what if I told you it might actually be a good sign? A sign that you're on the right track. Let's get into it. I mean, this is it, right? This is the feeling. The words on the page start to blur, your mind just wants to go anywhere else, and you immediately start asking yourself, what is wrong with me? I promise you, you're not alone in this. It's a super frustrating feeling, but it's a totally normal part of learning.
And of course, our first instinct is to blame ourselves. We think, ugh, I'm just lazy, or I'm not motivated enough, or maybe even, I'm just not smart enough for this. But what if it isn't a character flaw at all? What if it's just, well, what if it's just biology?
So let's try to shift our perspective here. This isn't some kind of personal failing. It's actually a biological feature. To really get what's going on, we got to look at the very architecture of our brains.
Okay, so this is the crucial point. That feeling of difficulty, that resistance you feel when you're trying to learn something new and challenging, it feels hard because your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do, and that's to conserve energy.
This chart just lays out the core conflict perfectly. Look, our brains are basically wired for efficiency. They absolutely love what's familiar, what's easy, and what gives us a quick reward. And studying, well, it's the exact opposite, isn't it? It's unfamiliar, it's super demanding, and the payoff can feel so far away. That resistance you feel, that's just your brain trying to save a little fuel by pulling you back to what's comfortable.
We really need to relabel that feeling of strain. So let's call it the discomfort signal. It's not a stop sign telling you to quit, it's a progress indicator. Think of it like going to the gym. When your muscles start to burn, you don't think, oh no, this is all wrong. You know that discomfort is literally the feeling of getting stronger. And guess what? The exact same thing is happening inside your brain.
To make this even clearer, let's use a simple, really powerful analogy that I think just perfectly captures this whole learning process.
Seriously, think about it. Nobody on Earth expects to just jump on a bike for the very first time and ride off perfectly into the sunset. We all accept that there's going to be a learning curve, a process of trial and error. Studying is no different.
And this is that initial stage of confusion. You're trying to take in all this new information, and it just feels awkward, kind of unstable. You don't have your balance yet. That's the wobble. And you know what comes next. Falling is a necessary part of the process. These are the mistakes, those moments where you have to reread the same paragraph 3 times. It's the slow progress. It feels like a setback, but it's actually how you learn to adjust and find your balance. And right here, this is the entire journey mapped out. The wobbling, that's your initial confusion. The falling, that represents that slow, sometimes really frustrating process of understanding. And then writing, that's the clarity. But notice, it only comes after you've gone through the struggle.
Okay, this is probably the single most important takeaway from all of this. We so often expect to feel clear and confident right from the start. And when we don't, we get discouraged. But that's just like expecting to ride the bike perfectly before you've even wobbled. You have to embrace the wobble. Expect it. It's just part of the path to getting clear.
Okay, so understanding the why behind the struggle is a huge first step. But how do we actually manage this feeling in the moment? Let's get really practical with 3 simple shifts you can start making today.
And don't worry, these are not complicated productivity hacks. They are simple, brain-friendly adjustments. First, we're going to shrink the task to get started. Second, we'll study actively to really engage our brain. And third, we're going to allow for confusion to take the panic out of the equation.
All right, let's start with step 1. Instead of telling yourself, I have to study for 3 hours, which, by the way, sounds absolutely terrifying to your efficiency-loving brain, just commit to 10 minutes. That's it. The hardest part is always just getting started. 10 minutes feels safe, it feels achievable, and honestly, that small start is often all you need to build up some momentum.
Now, for step 2, we need to move from passive learning to active learning. So instead of just reading and highlighting, which doesn't do much, I want you to pause and ask yourself this simple question. Trying to explain a concept, even just to yourself, forces your brain to engage with it, to connect the dots, and to truly process the information.
And finally, step 3. This is a simple but incredibly powerful mindset shift. The next time you hit that wall and think, I don't get this, just add one little word at the end. Yet. I don't get this yet. See how that feels? It completely transforms a dead end into a path forward. It acknowledges the struggle without giving up. It turns that feeling of panic into patience. So when you start making these little shifts in your mindset and in your actions, the road ahead starts to look a whole lot different. The goal isn't to somehow eliminate the struggle. It's to understand it and learn how to work with it.
I really want you to remember this. That mental exhaustion you feel after a really deep study session, that is not a sign that you're failing. It's the feeling of your brain getting stronger. It is proof that you put in the work. You should wear that feeling like a badge of honor.
And let's just end on this thought. That feeling of frustration, yeah, it can be really loud, but it's also temporary. Your ability to grow, to learn, and to overcome these challenges, that's permanent. So trust the process, be patient with yourself, and know that the effort you're putting in today is literally building the understanding you're going to have tomorrow.